To complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. The 25 peso minimum wage hike for workers in Metro Manila will take effect on November 21st. The Department of Labor and Employment says the new daily minimum pay across different sectors in the National Capital Region will become 537 pesos from 512 pesos 15 days after its publication. The Associated Labor Union Trade Union of Congress of the Philippines maintains the approved pay hike is too low compared to their requested 334 pesos. But government officials say the amount of the new wage hike underwent a thorough deliberations.
Hindi mo lang kino-consider kung sapat sa pangangailangan ng manggagawa. You have to consider other factors like yung ding capacity ng management or employers.
Meanwhile, prices of basic commodities in the local market have dropped according to the inspection conducted by the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI. The price of dressed chicken is now at 120 pesos a kilogram, while the suggested retail price for rice still remains at 27 pesos per kilogram for NFA rice. Local well-milled rice is sold at 39 to 47 pesos per kilo, while the imported rice is sold at 39 to 43 pesos per kilogram. The DTI, however, warns that prices of holiday products such as mayonnaise, queso de bola, and ham will start to go up as the holiday season draws near. The SRP for holiday items will soon be posted in grocery stores to guide shoppers. The agency also tells retailers to put appropriate price tags on their products to prevent overpricing.
Again, yung presyo, kundi i-issuehan nila kayo ng notice of violation. Lahat ng paninda, kailangan may presyo para sa kaalaman ng consumers, para walang deception, maiwasan natin yung paiba-iba sila ng presyo.
The Transportation Department formally opens today the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, which will serve as a transfer point between provincial buses and in-city modes of transportation. The terminal building designed to accommodate almost 200,000 passengers daily includes departure and arrival bays for buses, jeepneys and taxis, and private vehicle facilities such as parking spaces and a connection to the proposed LRT-1 extension project. The country's first land port under the government's infrastructure program also boasts of airport-like facilities such as restaurants, large restrooms with showers, and automated teller machines, as well as free Wi-Fi connection and a waiting area surrounded by CCTV cameras.
You have here a facility that is world-class. So world-class that there are facilities that are beneficial to senior citizens like me and to persons with disability and as well. Lahat ng pasilidades sa technology nandito.
The terminal is expected to decongest traffic in Metro Manila by reducing the number of provincial buses flying EDSA and Taft Avenue, Pasay.
Tanggal na yung ibang mga terminals natin dyan sa loob ng Metro Manila, ang end effect niyan makakabawas din talaga sa daloy ng trafiko dito sa Kalahang, Maynila.
Malacañang is not alarmed by reports that the Chinese government has allegedly installed weather facilities in some of the artificial islands in the West Philippine Sea. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says such report needs to be verified first. Knowledge on the alleged weather stations was recently heard from Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lu Kang, who said that Beijing has begun operating maritime meteorological and environmental observation centers on reefs of the Nansha Islands. The Chinese official also said that these projects aim to intensify Beijing civil services by providing maritime warning, tsunami forecast, and other information. In case the report is true, the Duterte administration vows to act on the matter.
The DFA will do its work and make the necessary diplomatic process.
In other news, the National Police will not issue new permits for manufacturers of firecrackers and pyrotechnic devices ahead of the holiday season. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde says this is in accordance with a Memorandum Order 31 signed by President Rodrigo Duterte, which mandates concerned agencies to inspect and ensure that manufacturers, distributors, sellers, and users comply with the government safety requirements. Licenses and permits of those found in violation of existing laws will be canceled or revoked. Banned firecrackers will also be confiscated and destroyed, while the importation of such devices will be strictly prohibited. General Albayalde says that controlling the number of firecrackers manufactured is an initial step to possibly implementing a total firecracker ban in the future.
Yung mga existing, medyo titignan natin yung kanilang compliance to the existing rules, policies, rules and regulations on the manufacture and sale of firecrackers.
The massive search and retrieval operations in the landslide hit Natonin town of Mountain Province will continue until Friday. This is upon the recommendation of the Office of the Civil Defense Cordillera and other concerned agencies as rescue workers continue to search for victims trapped under the landslide-stricken DPWH building in Banawel Village. Search teams will also be distributed up to 2 kilometers away from the site to look for other victims. 16 bodies have been retrieved so far, while 12 people remain missing. 14 of the bodies recovered have been transported back to their families, while the remaining 2 is still being identified.
Aspect by Director Karandang ng OCD hanggang Friday po, ma'am. Yung massive ang stop, pero mag-continue lang ang local government unit.
Expect rains in parts of the country tomorrow. Leslie Longbowen is at the UNTV Weather Center to tell us why. Leslie?
Yes, good evening. The Intertropical Convergence Zone, or ITCZ, will continue to bring rain to parts of the country on Tuesday. The ITCZ is affecting Palawan, Visayas, and Mindanao. Cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms will be experienced in Bicol Region, Palawan, Visayas, Caraga, Northern Mindanao, ARMM, and Zamboanga Peninsula. Meanwhile, generally fair weather will prevail in Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Forecast shows temperature in Metro Manila tomorrow will range from 24 to 34 degrees Celsius, 15 to 26 degrees Celsius in Baguio City, 25 to 31 degrees Celsius in Metro Cebu, and 25 to 34 degrees Celsius in Metro Davao. Tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 5:53 in the morning. That's weather forecast. Back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Leslie Longbowen from the UNTV Weather Center. And for the news abroad, China has promised to further cut import tariffs and open its economy as it tries to address criticisms that its trade practices are unfair. In a speech at a Shanghai Trade Expo, President Xi Jinping also made a robust defense of the global free trade system, which he said was under attack. The comments are being seen as a reference to the U.S., which with China is fighting a bitter trade war and hitting each other huge import tariffs this year. Neither is showing any sign of backing down, and the U.S. has threatened to escalate it further still. Democrats and Republicans from various U.S. states race to gather more support in their election campaign trails as the countdown to the midterms begin. Kath Carriedo tells us why.
On Tuesday, November 6, U.S. time, voters will determine which party wins control of both houses of the U.S. Congress, currently dominated by Republicans, as well as 36 governors' offices that will be at stake. Interest has been unusually high for a non-presidential election year, with early voting running well ahead of past cycles. Opinion polls and nonpartisan forecasters generally show Democrats with a strong chance of taking the 23 additional seats they would need for a majority in the House of Representatives, which they could use to launch investigations into President Donald Trump's administration and block his legislative agenda. Republicans are favored to retain control of the Senate, whose powers include confirming Trump's nominations to lifetime seats on the Supreme Court. In Texas, Republican incumbent Ted Cruz is facing an unexpected challenge from Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke Analysts say even a tight race in the conservative state may portend shifting battle lines in the 2020 presidential map. Democrats have pulled ahead in Florida's marquee races for the U.S. Senate and governor, a new Reuters opinion poll showed on Wednesday. Democrat Andrew Gillum, the Tallahassee mayor, is holding onto momentum in his bid to become Florida's first black governor. He drew the support of 50% of likely voters, unchanged from the last Reuters polling a month ago, compared with a 44% supporting former U.S. Representative Ron DeSantis. Gillum's historic candidacy may be boosting a Democratic ticket that includes Bill Nelson, who has opened up a significant lead in the Senate race that was tied last month in another Reuters IPSOS poll. In the latest poll, 49% of likely voters said they would return Nelson to Washington for a fourth term in the Senate, while 44% wanted to replace him with Scott. In Georgia, Stacey Abrams is vying to be the nation's first black female governor, and her candidacy tests whether Democrats can win on Republican turf in the age of Trump by fielding diverse candidates. Abrams' candidacy could inspire higher turnout among minority and younger voters who tend to favor Democrats but do not reliably cast ballots in non-presidential election years. History does not favor Republicans this year in the 46 states electing more than 6,000 legislators. In midterm elections, the party in the White House typically loses approximately 400 seats around the country, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. As of Friday night, November 2, almost 32.4 million people had cast ballots early, according to the Election Project at the University of Florida, which tracks turnout. That is up more than 50% from the 20.5 million early votes cast in all of 2014, the last federal election when the White House was not at stake. Kath Carriedo, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
In other news, thousands of Iranians rally as renewed U.S. sanctions against the country's oil exports take effect on Monday. Meanwhile, Mexico City receives the first wave of migrants from a caravan that set off from Honduras weeks ago. Jovic Burmas tells us why.
In USA, the U.S. unleashes its toughest ever sanctions against Iran on Monday following a wave of protests across the oil-rich country. The Trump administration reinstated all sanctions removed under the 2015 nuclear deal, targeting both Iran and states that trade with it. They will hit all exports, shipping and banks, all core parts of the economy. Thousands of Iranians chanting "Death to America" rallied on Sunday, rejecting calls for talks. Iran's military was also quoted as saying it would hold air defense drills on Monday and Tuesday to prove the country's capabilities. In Mexico, the first migrants from a large convoy of people traveling through Mexico towards the United States have arrived in the capital, Mexico City. About 450 people, mostly men and boys, have been given temporary shelter at a sports stadium. The convoy, known as a caravan, set off from Honduras several weeks ago and is now about 5,000 strong. U.S. President Donald Trump says troops will be deployed to stop them crossing the U.S.-Mexican border. Critics have accused Trump of using the threat of illegal immigration to fire up his supporters ahead of Tuesday's midterm elections. The migrants say they are fleeing persecution, poverty, and violence in their home countries of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. And in London, 10,000 torches lit the moat of the Tower of London on Sunday to commemorate the centenary of the end of the World War I. Inaugurated with the last post sounded from one of the towers, the display entitled "Beyond the Deepening Shadow" will run for 8 nights, leading up to the Armistice Day on 11th of November. Every day between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m., the tower moat will be gradually illuminated by individual torches lit by volunteers, many of whom have a family connection to the World War I. The war to end all wars spread carnage across Europe, especially in northern France and Belgium, killing 17 million soldiers and civilians in 1914-18. Over 1 million of the dead were soldiers from Britain and its then empire. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue.
American boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. makes a shocking move when he announced that he is fighting kickboxer Tenshin Nasukawa in Saitama, Japan on New Year's Eve. Meanwhile, a rising Russian tennis star ends Serbian Novak Djokovic's spell of dominance in the Paris Masters final. Here's why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
You know, I could do anything if I set my mind to it.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. said he is ready for any challenge as he announced a fight to be held in Japan without being able to specify what format or rules the fight would follow. In a shock move, the American former world boxing champion announced on Monday he would fight Japanese 20-year-old kickboxer Tenshin Nasukawa on the card for mixed martial arts promotions company Rizin Fighting Federation in Saitama on December 31. Mayweather, 41, has never fought professionally in mixed martial arts and said it was yet to be decided whether the fight would be a pure boxing bout, MMA, or some other mixture of martial arts.
I'll speak with my team. I'm pretty sure we're going to be on the same page.
Karen Khachanov caused one of the shocks of the tennis year by overpowering Novak Djokovic 7-5, 6-4 in the Paris Masters final to end the Serbian's remarkable spell of dominance in the men's game on Sunday. The 22-year-old Russian has for some time been seen as one of the rising young talents of the sports, but few could have envisaged his demolition of the Serbian superstar who was on a 3-month, 22-match winning streak. Kenya's Mary Keitany won the New York City Marathon for the 4th time in 5 years as Ethiopia's Lalisa Desisa sealed the men's title. Keitany, 36, was second in 2017 but won the title in an unofficial time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, 48 seconds. She finished almost 4 minutes ahead of compatriot Vivian Cheruyot, while USA's Shalane Flanagan was third. Desisa, 28, held off Ethiopian compatriot Shura Kitata by 2 seconds to win the men's race. Asher Gadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
Developers of the field of extended reality gather in a conference in the United States to map out the exciting future of XR technology, including a revolutionized medical training. Here's why from Robbie Di Guzman.
Industry leaders in the field of virtual reality gathered in San Francisco last week to outline their vision and discuss the future of the technology at the Extended Reality Developers Conference. At the 2-day XRDC, which drew to a close last Tuesday, the power of the virtual goggles goes far beyond mere fun and games, with many developers highlighting the creative ways the technology can be applied to everyday life. One of the new uses was showcased by Nick Klingon-Smith, the lead engineer of Microsoft's Mixed Reality Academy, who has been using the technology to list and brainstorm ideas in a virtual space visible in front of him.
This allows me to more fluently just like, here we go, here's an idea, here's a thought. I don't have to think about my interactions in order for this to express my creativity.
The startup Lightform showcased what it can do with a projected augmented reality system. The device, which is worth around $700 can use almost any surface for an interactive display, which means advertisements can be transformed into an immersive experience for customers without them having to wear special goggles.
We ultimately envision that there could be, projection systems all over a space like this that could cover, basically turn any surface into a display.
The founder of software company Reactive, Jonathan Perry, said one of the XR technology's growing markets is for companies who seek to use the equipment for training purposes. Perry's virtual reality programs often put users into the midst of high-stress situations. As a certified first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation instructor, he believes the technology has the potential to completely revolutionize medical training and therefore make simulations more realistic and effective.
We're using a real physical training mannequin that you might use in a CPR class. We've got trackers on that, we've got trackers on your hand. so that when you go to perform CPR on that person, you're not seeing that mannequin, you're seeing what looks like a real human being, and you're feeling that physical sensation. There's a lot of panic going on, people are freaking out. It really gets that adrenaline up, and it really tests to see, do you still remember the basics that you learned in class when you're under pressure.
In a new technology age where parents and society worry about the effects of overstimulation, some believe if used in the right way, extended reality has the potential to be used productively as well as set the mind free. Robbie De Guzman, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news November 5, 2018. On behalf of Rheena Villamor-Camara and Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
UNTV, your public service channel.